Just before Christmas, I had the opportunity to meet Arta, the CEO of Somnium Space, to check out their exciting new XR headset, the Somnium VR1. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all about it and my impressions of how this headset performs as a flight simulation headset. So if you're interested, please do stick around and stay tuned. I'd just like to say this video is proudly sponsored by VR-Wave, which produced the best lens inserts that I've come across for a whole range of different VR headsets. The great thing about lens inserts is even if you don't wear glasses, they absolutely help protect those very expensive lenses, and also they provide blue light filters which can help combat motion sickness and insomnia. But if you do wear glasses, well, it's definitely worth picking some up because it means you never have to wear glasses in VR again. You can get your prescription dialed in even if you have an astigmatism. All the links for VR-Wave will be in the description below, including a discount code. Go check it out. So let's just start off by saying Happy New Year to you all. It's been a very exciting time for VR and flight simulation, and I've got a feeling 2024 is going to be very much of the same. But what is the Somnium VR1? Well, let's just go through some of the specs here. And in essence, it's an open sourced modular VR headset, which is unapologetically all about high-end PC VR visuals. You're not going to find an XR2 chipset here. We're not interested in that, all that kind of mobile stuff. No, thank you very much. It's all about the very best image you can possibly get in a prosumer headset. Or is it? Well, I'm going to tell you that in this video today. Let's go through some of the specifications. Now, there is different versions of the Somnium VR1 depending on your budget. But essentially what you're going to get is a headset with dual lens aspheric 35 ppd peak fidelity. What that means is you're going to get a much wider field of view. More on that later. The display technology is pretty much the same as the Pimax Crystal with 2880 by 2880 pixels per eye, which is QLED technology, which also means, of course, you're going to get very nice deep dark colors. This has local dimming as well, and the actual colors in daylight scenes as well should be very close to OLED. You can also add eye tracking at 120 Hz and hand tracking as well, which is also 120 Hz. And for the full fat version, or the bad boy as I like to call it, you can have two dual 20 megapixel cameras at a resolution of 4056 by 3040. And that will provide a very high resolution pass-through display. Again, more on that and my impressions as we go with this video. There's a number of different unique features about this headset, particularly because it is open sourced. That means all of the sensors are completely unlocked and you can do whatever you want with them. There is also the ability to 3D print your own parts, which is pretty mind-blowing. And during my showcase at the Somnium Space HQ, they did sort of show me many different 3D parts that you can change and really sort of modify the headset so that it really is completely personal to you. That's very cool, and I haven't seen that before in any other device. But really, this video is all about my impressions and what I feel about the headset. And the only way I can do that is by going through the major points. And that's what we're going to do now, starting with that image quality. So as I say, in essence, the resolution and the QLED panel is pretty much identical to that of the Pimax Crystal. However, with the dual aspheric lens design, you do get a lot higher field of view. And I measured 120 degrees. That is true, 120 degrees, which is pretty much 20 degrees more than that of the Pimax Crystal, which is pretty impressive. One of the things that did concern me though is because of that wider field of view, does the image quality suffer? Does the clarity suffer? I'm pleased to tell you, with the combination of the aspheric lenses and the resolution, it is every bit as sharp as the Crystal. I personally feel that with the aspheric lenses, the optics are actually much better than that of the Crystal. There is less geometric distortion. In fact, I genuinely did not see any distortions on the unit that I tried. Now, I am aware that other people have said that there is distortion. I think the only thing that I can say there is that I am so used to using aspheric lenses. I've been using the Vari Aero for well over 2 years now, and now the Pimax Crystal. And for me personally, I'm a huge fan of aspheric lenses, and I'm happy to forego some of that weight disadvantage for the highest quality picture that I can possibly get, because I am a flight simmer. I look at gauges, the small text, the real fine details. They're the kind of things that really make a difference, especially when you get no God rays or glare and you get an excellent sweet spot with really good brightness. Now, in comparison to, say, the Quest 3, this is something that I haven't heard many people complain about, but I actually do see warping and distortion in that headset. So, go figure. But in terms of how they compare to the Pimax Crystal, well, I'm going to do a more in-depth video on that. But I do feel that this is a Generation 2 aspheric lens, simply because there is a lot less, in fact hardly any, geometric distortion, and the sweet spot is a lot wider. I'm talking about 2 to 3% of the image all the way to the center feels very, very clear to me, and I was absolutely blown away with that, especially given the extra field of view. However, this does come at a cost. Because of the extra field of view, the headset seems to be rendering a lot higher resolution. I can't remember what it was now. I wish I'd have taken a screenshot, but it was something like 6,000 by something or other. That is going to take its toll on your GPU, especially with the likes of Microsoft Flight Simulator and DCS World. However, I do feel that with eye tracking, that will fight back. If I had a unit here, which hopefully I will have at some point, I will be able to give you an even more in-depth view of the Somnium VR, and to be honest, I think I'll be able to get it up and running really well and get some good settings for you. But from what I tested with both a 3080, a 3090 in DCS World, and a 4090, overall I think the performance was a lot lower than that of the Pimax Crystal, simply because you are rendering a lot more field of view. Now, to counteract this, the CEO, Arta, did explain to me that actually you can take down and cull some of that field of view once you can work out how much you're seeing, because for me it was 120 degrees. So, you know, the headset is capable of 130 degrees. You could take 10 degrees off that and, you know, gain some of that performance back. That is going to be in the software, as is the OpenXR runtime, which they're integrating, and the motion reprojection. Although unfortunately I didn't get a chance to try those things in my demo, because please bear in mind that what I'm talking about today is from a prototype VR-1 headset. This is not final. So I've talked about resolution, the QLED panel, the field of view and optics. Well, I'll talk about a bit more relating to the colours. Well, they're absolutely beautiful, guys. They're very much exactly like the Pimax Crystal. That is, you get deep blacks, especially with local dimming, which seems to be working better in this headset actually, with no blooming that I could see in Kayak VR and MSFS. Also, I've noticed that just generally the colours really pop in the daylight scenes because of the brightness of that screen. It really looked absolutely phenomenal. Very, very good. And overall, I would say that the whole package with the optics is just that bit better than the Pimax Crystal. How much better? Well, not a massive leap, I have to say, but it is better. So one thing I want to also mention, and that is I did notice quite bad chromatic aberration. And this is something that I did explain to Arta, and he seems to think that they've got a possible hardware solution for this, which could minimize, well, almost completely the chromatic aberration. So I guess that's something that's going to be in the works, and I'll have to talk about once I can sort of test that. But with the unit that I was using, it had no coating on the lenses, which will make a big difference, guys. So don't worry about that too much at this stage. But I would like to see the final version of the Somnium VR1 with the coatings applied, because the chromatic aberration for me was quite jarring at times. So let's now talk about the comfort. This is something that did surprise me, because I immediately noticed how the headset was very front heavy. Now, part of this is because of the prototype strap that I was using, which did confuse me when I first saw it, because in pictures you can see it has two adjustable straps at the top, very much like the VR, but the one I tried didn't have that. And the strap, well, because I've got such a massive head, I wasn't able to put it right down to the crown of the back of my head, which is how I like to kind of, stabilize the headset. So it kind of kept slipping down all the time. So after about 5-10 minutes, I kept having to readjust the headset, which was quite annoying, I must say. But I did give Arta the feedback on this, and hopefully they'll be able to sort of, either produce a different length strap, or maybe have more of a counterbalance on the sort of back of the head strap itself. But in comparison, Melissa, my partner who has a very small head compared to mine, she had no problems at all. In fact, she found it really comfortable. So again, a lot of this stuff I'm talking about, it's all down to personal preference, and just like a pair of shoes, sometimes they just don't fit properly. Now, talking of comfort, I also want to mention something else that I noticed, and that is I did seem to get quite hot in the headset. This could be down to the fact that, I was in a office that was very warm. I had as you can see, a thick jumper on because it was freezing cold outside, and I was moving around a bit and sort of messing around and going in and out of the headset. But I did notice that I did feel quite warm, and that the active cooling, well, there's nothing on your face. There's no fan on your face, which was a shame. There is 2 fans in the headset to keep the internals cool, and I didn't hear them at all, so that's really good. But I would have liked to have felt some sort of brush of air on my face, like the VR. I love that feature of that headset, and the Pico 4. And even the Quest 3, you can tell there's a little bit of air circulation, but not so much with the VR1. Let's now talk about the pass-through, which is one of the major party pieces of this headset, simply because it does have dual 12 megapixel cameras with a field of view of about 125 degrees. So initially my demo was basically some objects which were rendered in VR with the mixed reality pass-through around it. And I remember doing something similar only last year at Vario with their XR3. Bearing in mind that headset is a lot more expensive and needs a subscription. Now, of course, since then we've got the Vario XR4, which I've yet to try, so I can't comment on that just yet, but we'll see what happens in the future with that one. Hopefully I'll get a demo unit at some point soon. But, going back to the VR1, the pass-through was very impressive. It was super sharp to the point where I could easily read a phone screen even when they turn the lights off. Now, this is something that did really impress me, is the low light capabilities. The Quest 3 does a really good job at, color pass-through on a budget, but it is very, very low resolution, and it's very grainy unless you have natural light. And in DCS world, using the cockpit here, as you can see, which I might do a separate video on this anyway, I'm able to easily read all of the gauges, even the altimeter, which absolutely blew my socks off, because even in VR it's a struggle, but I could actually read it through the pass-through cameras. And I couldn't help but just think how exciting this technology will be once we're able to get it into the likes of MSFS. And there's one other thing I want to mention before I forget. You can actually add your own cockpit or within the software at home. There's no need for an external program. Again, I can't really test this out until I get a unit at home where I can test all of this good stuff for you. It's also worth noting that this device has hand tracking available, and even though there was some issues with the tracking of my hands sort of down low, the actual latency of the movement of my hands were absolutely superb. And I can really see again how this could be utilized in flight simulators, because at this level it feels so natural to use your hands. So in terms of things like the build quality, well, of course this is a prototype unit, but it did feel absolutely excellent again, and I kind of expect that really, because the price is very, very high. This is going to be starting at around €1,900, and I believe that is even before VAT and local tax. So this is only going to be for the super high-end enthusiast, without a doubt. And it's interesting to see where the real high-end version with the pass-through cameras, where that's going to sit in terms of the Vario XR4 as well, because we do have, of course, the Pimax Crystal one end, which, if anything, I think this shows how cheap that headset is for what it can offer. Then you have the jump to the VR1, which is, I guess, a Pimax Crystal but on steroids, with amazing pass-through and way better build quality and European customer support. Not to mention, you don't need a battery to run this. You've got a much wider field of view, hand tracking built in, and a whole host of modular upgrades and ways that you can really configure this headset for your own needs, especially with the 3D printing technology as well. And the open source nature means that if you're really into it, you can go deep dive into the sensors and create something very special and unique. But there's no doubt that the Somnium Space team are absolutely 100% passionate VR enthusiasts at their heart. Arte has openly admitted that this is not going to be for everyone. However, my own personal view is I am a bit concerned by that base price. It is a lot of money, especially if you consider it's just the headset with no fancy eye tracking or pass-through. Of course, you may also argue that this is their first venture into hardware, so at the moment they are unproven. But from what I've seen from the team and from the headset itself and the performance, I must admit I am blown away with what it can do. My only worry is, as technology is moving forward at such a fast pace, and the high-end VR market is awash with lots of different headsets, from the big screen beyond to the Vario XR4 as I mentioned, and the Pimax Crystal, it's a tricky space for this to be in. Please do let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on this headset? Thank you so much for watching. Again, Happy New Year to you all. And please feel free to subscribe. It's going to be one hell of a ride on this channel this year. I'll see you again very soon. Take care and bye for now.